Hello and welcome to the showcase for the Halcyon Incubator Cohort 15. My name is Dan Barker and I'm Managing Director of the Halcyon Incubator. And I'm extra excited, probably the most excited to be here because today is the first event that I'm able to join since joining Halcyon just last week. And part of what inspired me to join this team is Halcyon's incredible network, everybody on this call today. What I'm really thrilled about is to have the opportunity to connect our fellows with business leaders, funders, and experts from across fields, really being able to build the connections with all of you today and beyond. And I say beyond because today isn't the end of this fellowship, but really marks a new phase in the fellows journey with Halcyon. Cohort 15 will continue to receive post-residency benefits throughout the next year, but most importantly, they'll join an engaged community of over 200 impact-driven leaders. So it's our hope that the connections that start today don't end today. This is really just the beginning. And of course, none of this would be possible without the incredible generosity of our sponsors and partners, which include Arnold & Porter, Amazon Web Services, Bank of America, Bracewell, Capital One, Deloitte, HealthWorks, HR Sage, and the SNR Foundation. And of course, a huge thank you and shout out to the mentors, leadership coaches, and advisors who supported these ventures, who've poured your time, effort, and networks into supporting Halcyon and these incredible founders. Now, before we launch, just a few housekeeping items. In addition to hearing the pitches from 6 ventures today, you'll have the opportunity to engage with our fellows with your questions during a moderated Q&A after each pitch. So as you watch the pitches, drop your questions down into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Also keep an eye out in the chat. You've already seen that we've been sharing some links, some websites, social media handles that you'll be able to use to follow our ventures and connect with them after you hear from them today. So now, without further ado, it's my incredible pleasure to introduce Cpr Wrap CEO and founder, Felicia Jackson, to kick off today's pitches.
Hello, I am Felicia Jackson, inventor and CEO of Cpr Wrap. In 2002, I almost lost my baby to a choking incident. I was working in the medical field and CPR certified, but instead of doing what I was trained to do, I froze. Thankfully, my husband was there and he was able to save our son. It was then I realized if this could happen to me, then it can happen to anyone, and it does. According to the American Heart Association, more than 350,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests occur in the U.S. every year, with 240,000 of those happening in the home. The person most likely to respond to that emergency will be you. It has been proven CPR provided immediately after cardiac arrest could double or even triple a victim's chances of survival. But 80% of Americans are reluctant to perform CPR due to a lack of knowledge or fear of causing harm. This is why I invented Cpr Wrap. Our patented disposable CPR template protects and guides any non-medical responder during CPR. Cpr Wrap has an attached one-way valve mouth barrier, visual hand placements, and simple CPR instructions that can be translated into any language for global usage. CPR wraps come in adult, child, and infant sizes with a price point of $9.99. Our competitors are the makers of battery-operated and pneumatic-driven devices like the Zoll Pocket CPR or the AutoPulse. These devices either require certification to use, they're costly, or can only be used on victims 8 years and older. CPR Wrap does not require batteries, and you don't need to be CPR certified to use it. A life-saving product in its simplest form. The medical device industry is a $425 billion market that's expected to exceed $600 billion by 2025. To effectively scale within this market, we're establishing connections with the U.S. military, Red Cross, and the American Heart Association, who trains over 1 million people every year. Cpr Wrap has 90% profit margins on our e-commerce platform and 70% profit margins on our B2B business model. We're positioning Cpr Wrap for growth by partnering with the over 100,000 CPR training facilities worldwide. For continued optimal growth, we are in the process of closing distribution partnerships in Canada, Australia, Africa, and the United States. Our award-winning kits have achieved global visibility as a solution for low-income and underserved communities worldwide. Our team is made up of people that first believe in the mission of saving lives and have been instrumental in the growth of CPR Wrap. We are currently raising a $500,000 seed round to help us achieve our goal of $2 million in annual recurring revenue by Q4 of 2022. A CPR Wrap belongs in every classroom, in every mode of transportation, next to every 3.2 million AEDs, and inside of every 2 million first aid kits sold every year. We are on a mission to empower people everywhere to step up and do the most basic, unselfish thing a human can do: save a life. We welcome you to visit us at cprwrap.com today to save a life tomorrow. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dana Goldstein. I'm Halcyon's Chief Investment Officer, and I have the privilege of moderating today's Q&A with the incredible founders of Cohort 15, starting with Felicia Jackson, the CEO of CPR Wrap. Felicia, thank you so much for that great presentation. And I'm just following along in the chat, and everybody's saying, I love this product so much, I have to have one of these. Can you tell us, this is clearly such an important life-saving device, and it's something that anybody can use to save a life. Why is this product better than the other products that are out there in the market?
Right. There has not really been innovation surrounding CPR face masks in over 30 years. And CPR Wrap is just a better choice because it has additional usability and advantages over the basic CPR mask, which only offers protection during rescue breathing. CPR Wrap gives you instructions, shows you hand placements, and empowers everyone to save a life.
I can see how this would be so powerful, even for somebody who's been certified in CPR, was maybe certified years ago. Do you have any other innovations that you can tell us about?
I do, actually. I have something called CPR K9, which is for dogs. And I am so excited when I am able to bring that one to market. Whenever I did my pitch competitions or went at vendor events, everyone would ask, do you have anything for dogs? And it was like, I can't talk about it yet, but it is coming, and it will be here soon.
Fantastic. And it seems like one of the other things that really differentiates this product and the way that you've approached it is that some of the other products out there in the marketplace are useful for people who have been trained, or they cost a lot of money, or they require batteries, but they're also only usable on patients who are 8 years and older. Can you talk a little bit about the product that you've developed that is usable for kids who are your son's age or who are my son's age now?
Right. So we know that sudden cardiac arrest, it doesn't matter how much you make, how old you are, what part of the world you live in. It's something that's going to happen. And people experience that in low income and minority communities that don't have access to tools to help them save a life. And when I invented this, I wanted to make CPR Wrap all-inclusive, low cost, and effective for anybody, anyone, even a child can perform the steps of CPR using our innovation.
That is just incredible. And I know you mentioned in your presentation that you're selling both direct to consumer through your e-commerce platform and also through partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about each of those channels and how you see each of those channels growing as you reach your revenue targets this year and beyond?
Right. So we are passively, because we want this product to be in the hands of every man, woman, and child. So we do have our own e-commerce platform. We're selling on Amazon.com and Walmart.com. But we are aggressively bringing about partnerships with organizational partners, distributors, not only here in the US, but in every country that we possibly can. And those are just the larger partnerships that we are working on right now. People that already have their hands in the channels that we are trying to penetrate. We think partnerships are the best way to go with CPR Wrap.
Fantastic. A couple of questions coming in through the chat, and folks, please feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A as well. Can you talk a little bit about the production cost and your profit margins, and as well touch a little bit on your manufacturing and whether you have reached, whether you've had any challenges? I know everybody's experienced supply chain issues. How is that going for CPR Wrap?
Definitely. Getting a manufacturer was one of the first things that we had to accomplish. It took us a year to find someone that could actually manufacture the product at the cost that we needed to drive the price point down. When we first started, we were paying over $20 to get this product made, which was unheard of for something so simple. Now we managed to get it made for under $1. Which we were able to bring the price point down so we can be competitive within the market. And that's landed, and I'm happy. You know, people should not have to pay an arm and a leg for safety, you know, for having something for safety. And, you know, I'm glad that we were able to do that. With the supply chain, everything is great, you know, because of the plastics and the templates that we're using. We have a Tennessee manufacturer that we found, and they have a partnership with China, and so we have not really had any problems with supply chain as of yet. That's amazing, and I agree that the margins are incredible. I'm seeing offers come into the chat to connect you with the American Red Cross and other things. Everybody who is listening today, if you have connections that you can offer Felicia, if there are other ways that you would like to engage or offer support, my colleague Maggie has dropped in the chat, and will again a link to a brief form where you can offer ways that you would like to engage with CPR Wrap as Felicia and the team continue on their incredible journey. Felicia, thank you so much. Thank you. And next up, we have Anna Giaquinto and Neil Single from Guac.
Hi, I'm Anna Giaquinto. This is Neil Single, and we are co-founders of Globally Unified Air Quality, or GUAC. People are now taking an increased interest in the implications of poor air quality, especially with the onset of COVID. Let's first take a look at what happened in WeWork. After several complaints from workers, WeWork found out they had a huge formaldehyde problem in thousands of their phone booths. Because they realized this problem too late, they were forced to spend large amounts of money fixing their infrastructure, and it became a very public-facing problem. Had they been continuously monitoring their air quality, they could have realized and dealt with this problem a lot sooner, more privately, and at a much lower cost. And companies everywhere are failing to monitor their air quality, which is hurting their business. Poor indoor air quality results in decreased productivity and increased healthcare costs. In addition, companies are losing out on tax incentives and grants by not implementing sustainability and wellness initiatives. And finally, like in the case of WeWork, realizing this problem too late results in costly remediation down the line. So why aren't companies monitoring their air quality? Because it's expensive, often costing tens of thousands of dollars. It is time-consuming and it's confusing. So GUAC has created an affordable solution to make air quality monitoring as easy and as helpful as possible. This includes our patent-pending hardware monitor that measures air quality fundamentals. We also operate in a plug-and-play fashion, so each device can be customized based on the user's needs. We send real-time safety alerts directly to your mobile device, so you can realize when pollutant levels become concerningly high. We install a network of these monitors throughout your building. All data is translated into our curated reports that come every month. We work directly with each client to help them create their sustainability and wellness goals. Our reports outline how to reach and maintain these, as well as taking a deeper dive into analyses, like identifying trends and hotspots throughout a building, so we can provide actionable next steps for how an organization can improve their air quality.
Looking at the competitive landscape, there's two types of products on the market right now: consumer-grade devices that have the benefit of an easy setup, and commercial-grade monitors that allow you to have sensor modularity and automated reporting. We combine these, creating the best of both worlds, along with the added benefit of curated reporting, all at a consumer-grade price point. Now, looking at our business model, we have two forms of revenue, including direct hardware sales with a current margin of almost 60%. We also have a software subscription model with a margin higher at 80%, and by the middle of this year, expect annual recurring revenue of about $250,000 with just 1,000 distributed devices. The market is huge. In the US alone, there's almost 100 billion square feet of commercial space. That roughly equates to 100 million guac monitors, creating an $85 billion market opportunity. We're attacking this market across 3 segments, including the industrial space, commercial real estate, and schools. Our team includes myself and Anna, as well as Colton, who came together in order to provide the best air quality monitoring platform inspired by a personal relationship to air quality. And looking towards our traction, we've been able to serve the growing needs of customers across the DMV. This includes both private and public schools, commercial office spaces, including building tenants, as well as the industrial sector, including manufacturing facilities, as well as a distributor for warehouses. Looking to what's next, we're looking to grow our offering with customers like Federal Realty in Oxford as property managers, Amazon's warehouses, as well as Oracle's data centers. We're going to do this by raising a $750,000 pre-seed round to manufacture our devices and increase our margins, as well as bring key hires onto our team. This will allow us to reach our next goal of automated building management system integration. With air filtration, as well as air quality provided by Guac, we'll be able to provide the ideal level of air quality in buildings throughout the entire day, making it safer for everyone. Join us, and let's understand our air together.
Thanks so much, Anna and Neil. It's hard not to love the name of your company, but we also love what the company does. Air quality is, I think, a very easy thing to take for granted until you experience poor air quality. So I'd like to ask you to start off, what exactly does your device monitor?
So our base device measures temperature, pressure, humidity, particulate matter, and volatile organic compounds. So basically air quality fundamentals. But our device is also customizable to be able to adapt to each user's needs. So a client can choose up to 12 additional sensors from offerings like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, and more.
Fantastic. That's incredibly powerful. You mentioned that you have some customers already from commercial office spaces to schools. What are you hearing from customers so far?
So in terms of the hardware, what we were excited about is that they like the offering of multiple types of sensors compared to the limited amount of offerings on the market right now. And then in terms of our reports, we've gotten feedback about the easy readability, the insights being valuable, and also being able to use those in actual contexts to improve their air.
That seems like it's connected to a question that just came in the chat. You know, how does the software compare to other models in the market, like the ones that are used by the EPA? So any additional thoughts there about how how the software specifically compares to what might be available currently?
Yeah, so right now the EPA uses generally city as well as local municipality devices. So this might look like your weather app where you just get an air quality index, but this doesn't really give people the full insight of what they're breathing inside, when they step outside, and during their commute. But using our devices, they're pinpointed in a range of about 1,000 square feet. So actual information throughout different times of the day versus the vague air quality index.
Does your product have to be approved by a regulatory agency? And if so, what does that process look like?
So it does not have to be approved. However, we are currently co-located with the California Air Resources Board. They're like EPA grade reference monitors to further establish our data correction algorithms to ensure that this is matching up to exactly what the reference monitors are saying. And the next step in our process of quality assurance is getting certified by the South Coast AQMD, but this is mostly towards outdoor devices, but we are focused mostly indoors.
Excellent. Thank you. And in just a couple of minutes remaining here, beyond the pre-seed round that you're actually, sorry, let me jump in on this question that just came in. Are there other partnerships, other certifications that you're pursuing going forward?
Yes, so we are working to get LEED certification as well, which are the two most used building standards and generally cross-applied. But that's something we would ask of the community if there's anyone with potential introductions, that would be much appreciated.
I was just about to ask how else folks can help you, but as you're thinking about answering that question, what specific qualities are you looking for in a potential customer? So as folks are thinking about how they might be able to help make connections, are there specific criteria that they should be keeping in mind?
Yeah, we specifically target businesses that have never monitored air quality before, and this is largely related to budget. So oftentimes people want to be able to take this initiative, but it's expensive. And we're the first commercial product that is priced at a consumer grade level. So if there's anyone, whether it's a school that's thought about air quality monitoring before, an office building, especially related to tenants, and they want to take that initiative, that's our ideal customer and who we support.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Anna and Neil. Folks, as you're listening to these inspiring pitches, if there are ways that you would like to engage, to offer introductions, to connect on anything else that these founders are looking for, please look for a link in the chat that my colleague Maggie is dropping in to fill out a really brief form to engage with these founders. Thank you, Anna and Neil. And next up, we have the founder and CEO of Maya, Jasmine Jones.
Do you know a breast cancer survivor? Where do they shop for post-mastectomy bras and breast forms? Any idea? Meet Josephine. Josephine experienced a double mastectomy, which is the life-saving surgical removal of both of her breasts after her breast cancer diagnosis. She shopped in a medical supply store and searched for prosthetics that matched her skin tone and fit her body. Unfortunately, she died without ever experiencing what I've now made possible, the perfect fit. Would you want the survivor that you love shopping in a place like this for such an important part of her body? Behind aisles of bedpans and laxatives and adult diapers for bras and breast forms for the rest of her life? Medical supply stores and hospital gift shops offer a sad selection of post-mastectomy bras and prosthetics, and no one tells these women that the cost of these items are covered by their health insurance plans. And this is the reality for the 4 million American women who are currently living with a history of breast cancer. And they have emotional ties around this necessary purchase. 60% of women choose not to have reconstructive surgery, and 270,000 are diagnosed every year. Their chest walls are not perfect, but they are alive and they deserve an optimized shopping experience. Maya is revolutionizing the shopping experience for women, and you can think of us as Warby Parker, but for boobs. We are the first direct-to-consumer, fully encompassing post-mastectomy care brand that connects breast cancer survivors across the country to certified mastectomy fitters using telehealth technology and home try-on kits. We are filling a considerable void in an estimated $7 billion industry. The best part, insurance will pay for these costs, and we accept most major health insurance plans. Here's how it works. We offer easy virtual fittings that can be done from home. We handle the headache of dealing with health insurance companies and handle all medical billing in-house. After their fittings, customers receive a home try-on kit and only pay their copay for what they decide to keep. Behind the scenes, our integrative tech platform, we verify insurance coverage, prescriptions, and benefits, charging her only for her copay and automating digital and handwritten reminders for when she's next eligible to shop with us. Our innovative and chic product suite spans across all that she'll need in all phases of her recovery and beyond. The Maya digital platform soft launched in October and will soon activate our partnership with the National Breast Cancer Foundation, connecting us to 1 million breast cancer survivors across the country. We were featured in Good Morning America and received an overwhelming response from survivors across the country asking us for our products and our services. We plan to scale our retail footprint in partnership with the leading national department store. In-person experiences will highlight our offering of custom breast prosthetics. Yes, you heard me right. Using 3D printing, we can create a custom breast prosthetic that looks and feels just like the one a woman has lost to breast cancer. She can customize the color and even add freckles and veins if she'd like to. And unlike traditional medical supply companies, we are vertically integrated, which means that our margins are 2 and 4 times the profit margins of our nearest competitor. What began as one boutique, Cherry Blossom Intimates outside of Washington, D.C., that featured a tech component has grown into an innovative tech company with a boutique feel. We are able to test our new products and services on a local level before our national rollouts. With the boutique as an incubator, we have seen tremendous growth in our mastectomy offering, especially during the global health pandemic, where we saw exponential growth across the board. With some of the best team members scaling the fashion, retail, women's health, and tech industries, we have the best leadership team for the work that we do. We're advised and mentored by leaders in scalable technology, women's health startups, and so much more. I have studied both entrepreneurship and retail finance. I'm a former Miss District of Columbia, USA, and a Forbes Under 30 list maker. I've completely dedicated the past 5 years of my life to offering innovation in the world of post-mastectomy care. And I'm one of the first Black women in this nation to raise over $1 million in venture capital. We are currently raising a seed round of $5 million as we scale this proven business model across the nation with the goal of impacting 1 million breast cancer survivors by 2025. National retail has neglected the women that we all know and love. I am revolutionizing this post-mastectomy shopping experience for all women because every woman deserves to feel confident, complete, and whole again. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. What an inspiring story in an incredibly overlooked space. I love the Warby Parker for boobs analogy. It's really compelling. Can you paint a picture for us of what the home fitting experience is like for a woman who has experienced a mastectomy? So in addition to not having to go to a medical supply store, how does it result in a better experience?
Absolutely. So we have a brick and mortar store, Cherry Blossom Intimates, right outside of Washington, D.C. And during COVID-19, we realized that we had to pivot. There had to be a way for us to reach women if our doors were closed and we were never able to fit them again in person. So we replicated the exact in-store fitting model and put it online virtually. So the first thing a customer does when she connects with us is receive a measuring tape in the mail. She'll use that measuring tape with a fitter, with a virtual fitting with a certified mastectomy fitter. And she'll walk through the same stages as she would in person, just from the comfort of her home, even in her pajamas. After meeting with the fitter, she'll be asked a series of questions about the post-mastectomy bra that she loves and her breast forms that she currently wears, if any. And then we send her a fit kit. She receives 3 prosthetics and 3 post-mastectomy bras that she can try on from the comfort of home. She only pays for what she keeps. She sends back what doesn't work. And then we remind her every time she's eligible for more post-mastectomy bras, that it's time to renew. The bill goes to her health insurance provider, and she only is charged for her copay. Customers love it, and we realize the business model is exactly like Warby Parker, just instead of glasses, we do bras and breast forms.
Can you talk a little bit more about that renewal process? I mean, it sounds like this is basically a subscription business with recurring revenue.
It is a subscription business with recurring revenue, and that has been the biggest difference and differentiator with us and our competitors. What we realize is that most women who've experienced breast cancer don't know that the cost of these items are covered by their health insurance plans, and they also don't know that they're eligible for post-mastectomy bras almost every quarter. Almost every patient is eligible to come shop with us 4 times a year. So we're able to send her reminders to let her know that it's time for her to shop again. If she loves the bra that she has on and it still fits the same, we can send her more of that item directly to her doorstep and still bill her insurance in the exact same way.
That's amazing. And can I ask you to just talk a little bit more about the insurance facet of things? So first of all, the fact that most people don't know that this is actually covered by insurance is clearly game-changing in and of itself. But can you talk a little bit about the progress that you've already made with insurance companies? And I saw a question come in the chat. Does Medicare cover the cost of these products?
Yes, we accept over 90% of health insurance plans, including Medicare and Medicaid. Medicare does cover the cost of these items, and Medicare also covers these items quarterly, so she can come back for that subscription experience that we talked about, which is a huge benefit to customers. We accept almost every major health insurance plan right now on the market across the nation, whether it's with pre-authorizations or just directly to charge her and bill her. And And we've made huge progress with that. And that really sets us apart too from our competitors, and that we're one of the first direct-to-consumer, or we are the first fully encompassing direct-to-consumer post-mastectomy care brand that handles the insurance for the patients. So she doesn't have to worry about that as a pain point. My grandmother had no idea that the cost of these items were covered. She was paying out of pocket, and we realized a lot of women out here are doing the same. We wanted to change that.
That's amazing. And can you just talk a little bit more about your competition? How else does Maya stand out?
Well, firstly, we're vertically integrated. So most of the post-mastectomy bras, breast forms, and recovery items in our suite were designed by me. And we're able to cut out the middleman in most instances, meaning that our margins are 2 and 4 times that of most brands on the market. When we started the brick and mortar store, I recognized that us housing competitive bra companies in our store was never going to amount to the amount of money that I dreamed that we could see and do, and we would never be able to help the patients that I knew that we could. So I knew that there had to be a better way. Us bringing that design in-house and bringing that manufacturing more streamlined has proven to be an exponential bonus in our business.
Amazing, and your margins are incredible. You pointed to that in the in your presentation. Jasmine, thank you so much. Folks, if there were questions that we weren't able to get to, we'll create opportunities for everybody to connect after today's showcase. And folks, if you have ways that you would like to engage with Jasmine, to offer connections, to offer other things, please fill out the brief form that is in the chat. Jasmine, thank you so much. And now I would like to pass the virtual mic over to my colleague, Samantha Abrams, Halcyon's Chief Strategy Officer, who will share a few words.
Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you, Jasmine, and all the fellows who have previously showcased their product and companies. As Donna said, I am Halcyon's Chief Strategy Officer. I am also Halcyon's Chief Ask Officer. We are just so proud to be here with you today to showcase this amazing cohort of fellows who are simply disrupting status quo, literally saving lives through technology kits, through mental health platforms, through air quality. And as we just heard with Jasmine, really enhancing lives through dignity as we, so many of us transition through very difficult cases like breast cancer. We could not do this work with all of you. You simply being here, providing support. The chat is dynamic and robust with asking really interesting and thought-provoking questions, but asking questions of how you can support the fellows, how you can continue to make introductions. We here at Halcyon do this work every day because of the monetary donations our sponsors make, the investments that they make, the investments you make. So we ask today that you consider donating something that is meaningful to you to continue Halcyon's work. But more importantly, think of other ways that you can get involved with us. It's not just about the money. The money is important, right? And that's so much of what we need to fuel the work. But think about other partnership opportunities that you can lend to us. We are always in the market for additional advisors and mentors and pro bono support that include legal services, accounting services, consulting services. So many of the fellows will tell you their stories about how our pro bono partners helped them through the last 5 months, refining not just their pitches, but their business plans and helping to get their B Corp papers organized and submitted. So we just invite you to explore more with us. I can be easily reached if you're interested in talking more about becoming a corporate partner or making a donation or becoming an advisor or mentor. My email is s.abrams@halcyonhouse.org. We're so excited to continue to build this year with you, in partnership with you, and continue to make collective impact. Now, it is really a distinct honor for me to turn the mic, the virtual mic, over to a wonderful fellow who's become a really good friend. And I'm just so proud of his work and the impact that they are making. Victor Juarez from Tu Consejería.
So, hi, my name is Victor Juarez, and I'm the founder of Tu Consejería. We have been working in Guatemala very hard to bridge the gap on attention or psychological support towards underserved populations. And after a while, many of our users, we found out that they are being sponsored by their relatives here in the US. So we started to explore the US market to find out if there was an opportunity for our solution. And we found out that almost 66% of the Hispanic population don't have access to care. And 1/3 of them don't have access to a psychological crisis, psychological support during a crisis. So our solution has been to give a web-based app and a technological tool for all our users and people to have access to this psychological support in less than 2 minutes. The solution is HIPAA compliant, and it can be available in Spanish and English, and also has the cultural fit that we think and believe that many of our population needs here in the US. How the solution works is a fee-for-service. So we have the ability to collect the money beforehand, so the users are guaranteed as a psychologist that we will be able to support them quickly and an affordable way, and of course in a confidential way. In the last 2 years, we have grown almost 450%, and we saw this as a sign that the market needs a solution like ours in the region, and especially here in the US, where the services are more expensive and doesn't have this cultural fit. Almost 70% of our users are women, and 1/3 of them are survivors of violence. So we see this as a sign that there's a big problem that needs to be addressed. In the following 2 years, we're planning on incorporating here in the US to be able to start a process of piloting in the DMV area. And in the next year, in 2023, we plan to incorporate in California and New York to be able to serve a larger population. So what we really want to do now is we will open a seed round in the first quarter of 2023. So we will be able to also incorporate in California and New York and be able to serve the almost 70 million Hispanic market in the whole country. So this is my information. Feel free to reach me if you need more information when we open the seed round, or if you want to learn more about our work here in the US. Thank you.
I think the past couple of years have really helped to highlight the importance of caring for mental health, and the move to virtual support and telehealth, I think, is one of the larger trends emerging from the pandemic. Can you tell me, Victor, what was your motivation to start this business?
Thank you, Dana. A nice cat. So there's so many different motivations in general, but I think that the fact that I used to work a lot with youth and with women here in Guatemala and saw that we can address many problems before they become big, and especially with underserved populations, and seeing that now that the mental health is a priority in many of their lives, they don't have really good options. Every options out there, most of them are expensive, and most of them are just not close to them. So that's how we started to develop the solution here in Guatemala, and moving now to Mexico, and also in the US eventually, knowing that, as I said in the pitch, there's a big opportunity because the population needs or has the same problems, and probably we can also support them in the same way.
The fact that you're able to get responses in under 2 minutes is really, really, really incredible. I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit more about how you're doing that now, and how you plan to continue that response time for critical crisis support as you scale.
Yes, of course. And we are extremely proud of that process, because it was a learning process after almost 2 years, maybe, after we started the whole solution. We found out that we needed to be there all the time, as close as possible with our users, because of stigma. Many people just give us one opportunity to be there when they are in a crisis. And everything usually starts with a hello, or is anybody there, or anybody can help me. And if we were not there in that moment, we will lose them, and probably almost forever. So we created a whole system and a protocol, so we are ready all the time in Guatemala, and potentially also in Mexico and the US. We have a long schedule. So we work from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning. So we are always there, as I'm saying. So the idea and the whole process and because I also believe that we have to create more jobs. And we are also extremely proud of that. So because we are a human-based service, even though we know about AI and we know about how automatization can help a business in general, we know our users, and we know that there's got to be a person there as close or as much as possible. So we're ready actually to do that process. We now have all the recruiting part extremely ready for hiring more. In this case, customer support people who will help us in being there all the time, as I'm sharing. So we are really looking forward to that growth.
That's incredible. And I wonder if there's anything else that you've learned from your experience operating outside the US that helps inform your entry into the US, and to kind of tack onto that question, what is it about the US that makes it an attractive market?
Yeah, as I briefly also shared, we started to look into the US market because we started to have users that were being sponsored by their relatives in the US. So when we started to ask them about how do they take care of their mental health, we saw that they are not insured, or they don't have the support in terms of financial support. Or when they do have that, when I was all this time in DC, I asked around with people from Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Mexico, and the ones that we knew that they were able to afford a psychologist, they always told me like they don't really get me. I mean, I usually sometimes I say a joke and they just don't laugh because they don't understand it. So there's a lot of small things that this cultural fit is what we believe is our main value. And that's how we think that we will be able to support, our community there. They are extremely connected to the people, their families in our region. So we know them as well. So I think that is going to lead us to do and give a great service in the US.
That's great. What does technology access look like for your target audience? Will you be able to support people who maybe don't have broadband access, or maybe don't have smartphones?
Yeah, and those were sort of the initial barriers that we face here in Guatemala, because we knew that they didn't have either the access to internet all the time or the smartphone that they needed. And so we created the whole system around two main things: that our users should have at least once a month access to internet, and also a smartphone that could be as basic as an Android 6.0 or iOS, very kind of an old phone in general. So the web app is kind of made to serve those systems. And we also work a lot on WhatsApp. We created an API that connects WhatsApp to our system, so we are able to serve them that way, because culturally we're good users of WhatsApp. So that's why we also adapt to what the market was saying.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you one last question, and as I do that, folks, if you would like to engage with Victor and Collaborators, if there are ways that you can make connections, if you'd like to stay in touch to hear about the company's progress and anything else, please fill out the survey. But Victor, my last question for you, as folks are thinking about that, is what can we do to help?
That's a great question, but I think that I have been able to have a lot of support. We now, for example, hold the licensing process of our psychologists from Mexico and Central America, how they're going to be able to do it here. And that was thanks to Arnold and Porter, and how they helped me develop how that process will work. Deloitte helped us a lot in the terms of the product market fit and how we will be able to tackle the B2C when we're ready. So right now we're in talks to one organization in the US that serves a large Hispanic population. And so as soon as that happens, we will be also having more information about how our product fits in terms of helping an organization based in the US, supporting our community. So that's something that I think will be interesting. If you know an organization that is already serving the Hispanic population, or people who have or are going to be deported, or that the whole migration population in general that speaks Spanish, we're ready for them, because I think that that's also a big issue on how we can serve. And with we, I mean the whole community of companies in the US, organizations, and how we also useful for this large community that, as you know, as you probably know, they face a lot of problems. We don't, I mean, and I can include myself, we don't decide to just migrate. We need to, and sometimes many of them are forced to. So there's a big theme and a big topic there. But those are the ones that I am really looking after to support as well, because I talked to them while I was in the US, and I think that it's a matter of saving lives. And we're also, as a team, we're really proud of saying that we have saved lives, probably many lives already. So yeah, so any type of support, we're in that process. Thanks to Arnold and Potter also, we'll file for incorporation in the US today. So I'm really, really happy and excited and really looking forward to do more to our Hispanic population in the US.
Fantastic. And we are looking forward to tracking your progress and supporting you along the way. And folks, please do fill out the form if you would like to engage with Victor, if you can make introductions to the types of organizations that would really benefit from Tu Consejería. Thank you so much, Victor. And next up, Happy Ghosh, co-founder of Kalia Health.
Rachel was a 26-year-old from Carborough, North Carolina, and she was pregnant for the first time. When she was 32 weeks pregnant, she started experiencing weight gain and swelling, but her doctors dismissed this as a normal part of pregnancy. At her 37-week appointment, they could not find a heartbeat for the baby, and Rachel was rushed to UNC Hospital, where unfortunately, she delivered a stillborn baby. Rachel was experiencing preeclampsia, and she is not alone. My name is Happy Ghosh, and I'm the co-founder of Kalia Health, which is a health justice startup fighting for better reproductive health outcomes for birthing people like Rachel. Preeclampsia is the second leading cause of maternal mortalities worldwide and in the US, and it causes over 500,000 fatalities every year. It's also a huge contributor of health disparities, as birthing people of color and those in rural areas face higher maternal mortalities due to preeclampsia. When preeclampsia is left undiagnosed, the problem progresses to cause organ failure, seizures, and fatalities. Unfortunately, the current diagnostic protocol for preeclampsia is inaccurate, and it must be conducted in a clinical setting, which makes it inaccessible to many. When preeclampsia is caught early, it's possible to begin treatment and prevent these adverse outcomes. That's why Kalia Health is developing the CalPDX. Our flagship product is a preeclampsia diagnostic that works just like a home pregnancy test. Patients can screen for preeclampsia routinely at home, and those who receive a positive test will follow up with their provider to begin treatment. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown the value of home-based and point-of-care diagnostics more clearly than ever, and this has been shown in the marketplace. The CalPDX falls under the $41 billion point-of-care diagnostics market, of which there's a $1 billion obtainable market for the CalPDX for home use alone. Currently, there are no other preeclampsia diagnostics on the US market. The Just Vision test is currently in development as a urine-based test meant for clinical use, but the CalPDX is the only test that could be used at home or in a clinical setting. Based on willingness to pay data, we've priced our test strips at $30 each, giving us an 83% gross margin. According to research from the Preeclampsia Foundation and the Geisinger Health System, the CalPDX has the potential to save up to $200,000 per pregnancy. Our plan to get this test to birthing people is a prescription for home use so that we can build clinician buy-in while providing the added value of access to care. Kalia Health has completed several milestones to date, including a background clinical study during which we verified that our science works. We've built a proof of concept prototype and have recently converted our provisional patent. We've also conducted over 400 interviews and surveys to ground our technology development in community needs and to validate the commercial potential of the CalPDX. During these interviews, we found that every single clinician we spoke to states that early diagnosis is essential for managing preeclampsia. Kalia Health is run by myself and fellow engineer Denali Dahl. Both of us are passionate about leveraging technology to make healthcare more accessible. And of course, none of our work would be possible without the contributions of our technical and clinical collaborators and the support of our expert advisors and our entrepreneurial network. In order to achieve our mission of health equity, we are seeking impact-driven, clinical, and commercialization advisors, and plan to raise $750,000 later this year. Reach out to join us on our journey to bring healthcare home.
Thank you, Happy. The health disparities in maternal health are just particularly stark, and the work that you're doing is just so incredibly important, both domestically and internationally. I suspect that most people in the audience saw the picture of the CalPDX and thought that looks like a home pregnancy test. It's really striking to me that 100% of clinicians agree that early diagnosis is essential. So why isn't there already a preeclampsia diagnostic on the market for home use?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are often asked why this doesn't exist yet. I think there's a couple of reasons. There's a lot of interest in a research perspective about 15 years ago that kind of died off. We think that has to do how social factors have influenced where funding goes and what people have been able to research. As far as the home-based diagnosis specifically, that idea actually came to us by working with some students who come from a low resource background, identified this problem and the fact that their population could not actually go to a clinic to get the care they needed. So we thought, how do we work around that? So we went for home. I think the reason some of these other companies with products in development are working on clinical-based tests is because there is still a need for that. The test itself that is currently being used is not, because it's not accurate, we do need a higher standard for diagnosis. So that's why it's important to improve on that. We just are also incredibly focused on how do we increase access to care? How do we get people tested when this is something they can't do?
Absolutely, and that's so critical to your approach to the venture and your approach in general. How do you plan to reach those low resource populations?
Yeah, so this is going to vary from context to context. In the US, we've been doing, so we're actually based in North Carolina in the Research Triangle Park area usually, but we've been examining county health systems and community health systems to understand how do they make these decisions. So we now have a good understanding of their different funding sources. We've started some systems mapping to see how decisions flow through. And our next stage of that work is going to be doing some interviews to see like what will it take for you all to be able to use this and distribute it to your patient population. Of course, our plan is to actually partner with people at these different institutions so that we have like localized community insights. We've also done some customer discovery in Uganda and Nigeria specifically, although we will look at low and middle income countries globally. And we found that the way people access care varies in these spaces. A lot of times there are ministries of health that have made commitments, especially around maternal health, and that's who might purchase a test like this and then ensure it gets distributed. In Nigeria, we found that NGOs tend to implement a lot of the work that the Ministry of Health commits to. And so they're the ones that are directly purchasing these. And a lot of patients also go and access care at the pharmacy. So like for malaria testing, it's common to just go to the pharmacy, buy the test and do the test there and receive some level of treatment there. So those are the insights we have so far. And we're going to have to take that kind of approach in each context.
Thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. Question in the chat, and I'll broaden it a little bit, but to what extent are you involved with medical tech associations? And more broadly, what are some of the other partnerships that you've been developing? Yeah, so recently we've just been focusing on since we're still in that early R&D side, focusing on how do we get this product made. So those would be our clinical collaborators, our upcoming study. We're planning to do that in partnership with Dr. Brenna Hughes at Duke. We've worked with the Diagnostic Consulting Network out in the San Diego area because they're experts at building lateral flow assays and they helped us build our proof of concept prototype. They can also do some gap manufacturing. So when we need tests that are ready for the clinical validation stage, they can get us there and we're in the process of vetting contract manufacturers when we get to the stage of commercializing. One last question for you, and I know there's some other questions that are coming in the chat, which we will help collate so everybody can be in touch. You talked about developing CalPDX for home use, but you also touched on the fact that the in-clinic diagnosis is really important. Is this something that clinicians can also use? Yeah, absolutely. So
the CalPDX test itself, the one that looks like a pregnancy test, works like that, that could be used in a clinical setting. And that's one consideration that we're making as we work to figure out how to best get this to the populations that need it initially. But when we were doing our customer discovery, another thing we realized is a lot of clinicians would like a little bit more data. They kind of want that quantitative info about what are the concentrations of these biomarkers in the urine, because they're giving consideration to a lot of different factors and they want to be able to make that judgment call themselves. So the development pathway right now is the same, but we're using this research, we can build also a clinical version of this product, which essentially you would need a machine to read it. It looks and collects the sample just like the home pregnancy test, but you'll use a reader and it will give you a numeric output about what is the biomarker concentration, and that'll be for clinical use.
That's incredibly exciting. Thank you so much, Happy. This is really exciting. We're looking forward to tracking your progress. And folks, if you would like to engage with Happy and with Kalia Health, please fill out the really brief form and let us know how you would like to engage and how you can help support Kalia Health's growth. Thanks so much, Happy. And now for the final venture in today's showcase, Euphoria, led by CEO Kate Anthony.
My name is Kate Anthony, and I am the CEO of Euphoria. We exist because every 3 minutes, a transgender person dies from suicide. And this is as horrific as it is unacceptable. What makes it even more tragic is that we know how to help this remarkable patient population. The science is definitive and overwhelming. Gender transition saves lives, making this a matter of healthcare. But despite knowing this, we are still losing trans souls on a daily basis due to resource scarcity, inaccessibility, and discrimination. But it doesn't have to remain like this. Which takes us to a company. Euphoria creates digital healthcare products, and today we're going to focus on our two flagship technologies, Solace and Bliss. It's important to know that transition is much more than just one surgery. Instead, it's a constellation of medical, legal, social, and psychological goals. And if this feels complicated and overwhelming, just look at the average cost associated with completing these. Not only is the journey of transition complex from an information perspective, but it's also incredibly expensive. So to address these challenges, we started with an app that would arm our users with actionable information in completing their medical, social, and legal goals. And at over 1.5 million words of content, Solace is regarded as the most complete and accurate guide to gender transition ever made and is beloved by our users. Solace is monetized through strategic B2B partnerships, allowing us to keep the platform free to the users while generating recurring revenue for Euphoria. But this isn't our only monetized app. Recently, we launched Bliss, the first bank for the trans soul to help them afford transition. In a matter of weeks, we'll be larger than our closest competitor, who's been in the market for almost a year. Bliss is monetized by our debit cards, allowing us to collect a percentage of the interchange at the point of sale of every medical, social, and legal goal our users complete. Our users are going to spend a tremendous sum getting into their bodies, or as we say, their forever homes. And given that transition takes between 5 to 10 years to accomplish, that provides Euphoria with long-term revenue. The sum of that is that we can ethically make a ton of money together. But looking beyond profit, the impact alone is compelling enough to join our cause. Our work saves lives, tens of thousands of lives. And the Euphorian user base continues to grow organically due to SEO, ASO, and word of mouth, giving us an effective $0 CAC. Which leads us to an opportunity. My community is big. There's 157 million transgender people globally. And when you factor in that average cost of transition, we can see a truly astounding $23.5 trillion total addressable market. And when we hone in on just the US, we can still see substantial business and social impact opportunities. Given that it's about 1 in 50 chance that someone will be transgender, it is likely that our work will impact someone you love. And we can also look beyond transition. People like me have the same hopes and dreams as cisgender people, all of which can require banking services to afford. And the fact that we've done all this with just a team of 3 is a testament to our collective zeal and talents. But we're going to need a larger team to keep up with our meteoric growth, to capitalize on all that's in front of us and expand the footprint of the company. Euphoria is defining the space of trans tech as we're building it out, and others are taking notice. We press forward in our mission to restore agency and dignity to the transgender soul. We press forward to make sure that Leela Alcorn's final cry is never in vain.
Thank you, Kate. That was incredibly powerful. The work that you're doing is just so incredibly important for a community that is frequently overlooked and misunderstood. What would you say is the most common misconception that people have about transgender individuals?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one because there's a few big ones. I mean, as I mentioned, you know, the medical and the biological basis for why people like me exist, that's a big one. But probably the most significant one is that trans people have to go through a lot. We are met with hell, hatred, and hail every time we walk out the door for having the audacity to exist. And that does create a lot of hardships, and that does result in us having a harder pathway forward. But I think people see that hardship and think that this community is to be underestimated. But instead, I see a community that has fought through so many challenges and is incredibly resilient. So perhaps the thing that people fail to understand about the transgender community is that we are not to be underestimated. And if anything, the bar is to be set very, very high because we've seen a lot, we've done much with little, and we survive even in a society that sometimes deems us unwelcomed.
I think there's so much that's so powerful in what you're doing, but from the pure business perspective, the fact that you're acquiring customers with basically no marketing spend is really remarkable. Can you talk a little bit about how it is that you're acquiring customers and how you've managed to already grow your customer base, or rather your user base so significantly?
Yeah, so the short answer is that my team is just that good. We know how to optimize for search in both app stores and on the web. Our technology is so compelling that people feel the need to share it with others. And so that causes, you know, growth spurts. We see the most amount of downloads coming in the dead of night. So our users come to us when they are broken and they are looking for some pathway forward, when the candle of hope is almost fully extinguished, when they are asking, can I do this? How do I manage life as a trans person? Is there a pathway to the other side? Euphoria products are what come up. So we're going to press forward with that strategy because it's worked really well for us. And it is just I said in the pitch, it's truly because of my team, we are able to disseminate our technology so quickly without being inhibited by marketing spend.
It's really, really remarkable. So what's next for Euphoria in 2022?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to refine our existing suite of technologies. They're all growing at quicker paces, projected to grow a lot quicker than they did last year. Last week, there was an enormous regulatory change, particularly as it relates to healthcare of transgender youth. So we've been working on a product waiting for that change. So we're starting to put into motion. And should we be able to raise the requisite funds in our seed round, we'll be able to roll that out. So we've done really well with the adult patient population. We'll continue to grow on that front. But in terms of 2022, it's time to help those kids out.
Absolutely. To focus on the business side of things and the impact for a moment, can you talk a little bit about Euphoria's exit strategy?
Yeah, so Euphoria is the largest trans tech company on earth. There are other trans technology companies that are popping up, such as Plume and Folks. They do telehealth for GHT. So they could, it's likely in our mind that they will make an acquisition. The only question is when and if we say yes to it. Since we also have that fintech component, our friends at MasterCard or Chase might also be interested in someone like us. But because broadly we fall under digital health, that also lines us up to potentially be acquired by a health network or even an insurance platform. So, you know, those are kind of the three buckets we're targeting, and we're just going to see which one, you know, kind of shows us the right number.
Amazing. And I can't wait to track your progress and track the incredible work that you're doing and support you along the way. As we're kind of wrapping up here, folks, if you have support that you would like to offer to Kate, if there are ways that you would like to engage, if there are introductions you can offer, please fill out that really brief survey. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you to all the fellows. I know I'm leaving even more inspired after having spent this additional time with you all. And for some closing thoughts, I am going to turn the floor back over to Dan Barker. Dan?
Thanks so much, Dana, and thank you to the fellows. I am equally as inspired as you are from hearing all of the stories and the pitches today. It's incredible the scale of the challenges that the fellows are taking on, but also the brilliance and the innovation that they're bringing to those challenges. Every time I hear from Halcyon fellows, it's an amazing experience and a renewal of why I decided to join this team. And Cohort 15, we are so excited for all the great things that you're already doing. And so thankful for those things and really excited for what's to come. As Dana mentioned, there is a form, a very brief form that you can fill out if you've got a way that you'd like to stay engaged. If you can't fill it out today, we'll send it along in a follow-up survey. As you know, there's a lot more coming for Cohort 15. And if you know Halcyon, there's a lot more coming from us. So if you've been following us, you've seen that in the last few weeks, we announced the new cohort for the 2022 program in this spring. And then in the next few days, we'll be announcing two more intensive programs, one focused on entrepreneurs from Sub-Saharan Africa and one focused in the DC area. So we'd love to continue to stay engaged with all of you, and we'd love for you to bring your community into the Halcyon network. So that includes following us on all platforms at Halcyon Inspires, signing up for our email list, and really we are interested in engaging with you and your networks, how and when you're interested. So again, please fill out that survey. We thank you so much for staying with us and supporting our fellows throughout this journey and staying with us today. And we look forward for what's to come in the future. So thank you so much.